Okay, dude, we made it. We're
We
here.
did.
First ever podcast in the books here.
At beginning of something special.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. So, Lucky Losers Co. You know, the the new the new moniker, you know. What do you think about it, Lucky Losers Co? Just
I love it. I
overall.
mean, I know you were telling me a little earlier about like kind of your background and why you really like that name. So I feel like that's like something that'd be cool to share. Like what was kind of like your big driver behind that name for the podcast?
Yeah, dude, I think well, I mean, I like, Lucky Losers, the alliteration with the L's,
Hmm.
but mainly, dude, I mean, everyone likes an underdog,
Hmm.
And there's a good amount of underdogs that had some upsets in Roland Garros, which we're gonna get to.
Hmm.
And I'm definitely excited to go into that. So, dude, I think, just the fight of the underdog, you're not expecting them to do anything, and then they just absolutely go crazy.
Yeah, and these are the guys who are like I feel like real lucky losers. Guys not supposed to be there. Odds are kind of stacked against them, and they get put in the right situation at the right time, and they make something happen out of it.
Yeah, dude, I love it. And that's what tennis is about too. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, at that, like, when you get to that level, I mean, yeah, there's like a ridiculous leap between like 150 and like, the top 25. But
Hmm.
every now and then you get a sneaky little like 131 beating like, a top 15 player, and you're like, what
Yeah,
just happened?
I mean, it's like even though there's that skill difference, it's also crazy to think about that these guys are just elite at what they do, and even the guys in like the top 150, 200, they hit the ball so clean, they can play the game. It's just like it's a game of margins, right? It's like such small differences that separate those guys from the guys who's like lifting up the trophy at the end of the 2 weeks.
Yeah, so true. Like, even a qualifier is gonna, I mean, most times gonna put up a good fight even in the round one, unless we're
Hmm.
talking it's like Sinner or Alcaraz. They just,
Yeah,
I mean, they're different.
yeah.
But yeah, dude, I'm super happy we got this going here. Uh I guess we can just go right into it here. Roland Garros.
Yeah.
Give me your thoughts like right now, high level overview, and then we'll get into some moments from it.
Well, I feel like you know, all the other slams they were always more of a toss up. I mean, you could say Wimbledon wasn't so much of a toss up with Djokovic and Federer dominating a bunch. I guess the Australian was also kind of run by Djokovic for a while, but everybody knew Roland Garros was roughest turf, and I feel
Yeah.
like now it's starting to open up that there's a bunch of guys out there who can really play. They're getting comfortable on the clay, and we're really starting to see some super interesting matches happen. And the young guys are really kind of starting to take their role in the chase for slams.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy to see kind of the passing of the torch.
Hmm.
I mean, all we've ever known was like the big three, like since we were like children. Like we
Yeah.
were like, I was born in '03.
Hmm.
Like we stepped into one of the greatest eras of tennis ever
Yeah.
by three individuals, and now one of them is still playing.
Hmm.
And I mean, I think it's too early to say, but I mean, I think he has a shot. I think Novak could even maybe do it. I don't know.
Well, I feel like he's one of those interesting players, and I was talking about this earlier today with someone, where like he's kind of reached the point where he knows how to play the game, he knows how to take care of his body, and in the regular season tournaments, maybe he doesn't care too much. Maybe he'll show up, just play, have fun, collect his appearance fee. But those four slams and then the World Tour Finals, that's when he's like, you know what, I gotta put all my energy and gotta really focus in. He always seems to have a pretty good showing, even on his off days, which I think is incredible.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, dude, coming off a 250 win in Geneva
Mhm.
too, like it seemed like he was just doing that for fun. Like
Yeah,
it's like, dude, you know what? I might as well go win this 250. Like, imagine that you could just
yeah.
pull up to any like 250 and just win.
Hmm.
Like, dude, this
Well, for
guy
him,
is
it's
a
like,
literal psycho.
yeah, it's like almost like a side quest for him because he's like, how like on video games you try to like complete the
He
game.
doesn't
I feel like he's
care.
completed
Yeah.
tennis. So
No, I mean, he's keeping that streak alive. It was something like he's gone. 20 years winning a
Mhm.
title every year or something like
And did you see
ridiculous.
he joined like Federer, um I think it was maybe Connors, as the
In a
only
hundred
men.
titles maybe.
Yep, in the 100 titles. Yeah, he's part of that selected group now, which is again that's incredible.
Yeah, no, I mean that's insane. I mean, what an absolute legacy we're seeing unfold.
Hmm.
Crazy. I guess speaking of legacies, this is a good segue. Dude, Richard Gasquet,
Hmm.
one of the most beautiful one hand backhands on the tour. Dude,
Yeah.
he's done. And honestly, I mean, I was kind of surprised. I guess people kind of had their they had their guesses that it was potentially coming, especially
Hmm.
since he's French, and I mean, this is the biggest tournament like
Hmm.
in tennis in France. You know, what'd you think of the retirement, and the
I mean,
career as well?
well, I think the career is incredible because I remember, I used to kind of go back and watch some of these old matches, and it seems like him and Rafa played a bunch when they were juniors and when they were first got on tour because they kind of got on at the same time. And so he's been up there, and he hasn't really snagged any of the really big titles, not no Grand Slams or Masters 1000s, but he's been a name that he's like a household name, right? Everybody's kind of known the guy, everybody's seen him, everybody admires his game, and actually kind of on your side because I know you have a one hander, you know.
Yeah.
How does that kind of feel? Because he's one of those guys when you talk about one handers, he's definitely up there in the conversation for one of the best of all time. So as a fellow one handed player, how do you feel about that?
Dude, I mean, I think I gotta put him up there. I mean, he's always been one of my favorite. He gets so much like of this curling kind of angular motion on it, and
Hmm.
I think it has to do with you've seen the bottom of his grip. He like
It's
wraps it
huge.
like so much, and
Hmm.
the reason for that is so he can like kind of scoop his backhand a little bit,
Mm.
like with this like weird pendular angle. And
Hmm.
it's like, I mean, I think it's beautiful how he's able to hit those balls on his backhand side.
Hmm.
I think if I'd say he's like top five in my favorite one hand backhands of all time. I'd
I'd
definitely
put him
put
in
him
there
up there.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's an easy top five.
Hmm.
And maybe he hasn't had the most insane results, but I
Hmm.
mean, when it talks of just like you know how pure is it, dude? It's one of the most pure backhands I've ever seen.
Yeah. And I
It's
mean, I'm
class.
sure
One of the few
the,
people who you could make the argument their backhand was better than their forehand.
I feel like you could almost make the argument that he made his career out of that one-handed backhand. People know him for that shot, and obviously it's a weapon. He wasn't afraid to pull it down the line and make people pay. So I feel like, yeah, it's definitely a special, special shot. So it's gonna be kind of sad to not really be able to watch that anymore.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But I mean, I do think it was ultimately the right time. I feel like he's
Hmm.
been struggling to see some kind of results lately. And I mean, he's
Hmm.
getting up there, 38 now, going on 39.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I think it was a good place to retire at the French.
Hmm.
Against Sinner
Yeah.
too. I mean, Sinner had some great words for him. I remember seeing
Hmm.
those, seeing his speech. Super super nice. Sinner's a really great guy. Off the court.
Hmm.
And I mean, just overall, I mean, 16 career titles. I mean, world number seven at one point,
Hmm.
600 plus wins, three Grand Slam semis, and fun fact, bronze medalist in doubles at the
Wow.
Olympics. That's kind of bizarre for Gasquet. He must have. And honestly, what do you think he was on the backhand side or the forehand side?
I'd be kind of curious because it's interesting because he's not a big server, a big forehand guy by any means.
Yeah,
So,
I
huh,
he had to have been on the ad side, 100%. I'd be
yeah.
surprised if he wasn't, because I mean
Well, you
that
know what
backhand is
though?
just a weapon.
Oh yeah, it was I think awesome to see. The little ceremony when they gave him his plaque at the French after
Mm.
his match with Sinner. I thought it was pretty cool to see. They brought out some of the
Oh,
other big French guys. I remember they brought out like Gil Simon. They brought out Sanga. He came out.
oh, dude,
Um,
Gil Simon, dude, yes.
yeah.
What a
So, and
legend.
there's one other guy I remember they brought out as well. So it's I don't know, seeing all the like those big French guys that we used to watch on TV growing up, uh, all kind of come together, kind of similar to how they had Rafa's little retirement ceremony earlier in Roland Garros. Um, I think that was really nice, and I know a lot of people think the French fans can always be a little tricky sometimes. They like to root for their home favorites, and they can be a little rowdy, right? So I feel like
Yeah,
it was nice for them to kind of give a little homage to Gasquet for all he's done.
yeah, yeah. No, I liked the shirts
Hmm.
at the retirement ceremony. The
Yeah,
Merci Richie.
yeah.
I like that. The tons of people were wearing those. Almost everyone, it seemed like.
Oh yeah.
So that was awesome. I guess did they know that he was gonna lose? Because they all had those shirts at the
Well,
ready. Was it
I mean, I
like
feel
just?
like you're
That's
playing against
awful.
Sinner. You might as well
Yeah.
kind of already put that retirement in there because he came back after his
Well,
ban and he had all the time in the world to train and he's just been lights out since. So
dude, can you imagine being a fan, like collecting your T-shirt on the way in of Mercy Richie, and then you're watching the match, like,
well,
and
imagine you're Gasquet and you're like, it's the first set of the match and you see some people already have the shirt on. You're like, they
and the
already think I'm
first
gonna
set
lose.
was
What's
like
the point?
6-3, dude.
Yeah,
It wasn't even like a blowout. I mean,
yeah,
this the second was, I think it was 6-0, but dude, then
mhm,
6-4 in
yeah,
the third. He got more sets than Jiri Lehechka,
hmm,
which is, I mean, that's unbelievable. Like
yeah,
that's awesome. Um, but I mean, dude, that's gotta hurt a little bit, right?
hmm,
They're kind of preempting the loss, but
yeah,
um, I guess kind of going off of that, the French crowd, I loved this moment. I'm not sure if
hmm,
you got a chance to check it out. I put a little link over there for you.
hmm.
Mensik versus Mueller.
Yes, I
Um,
did see that. Yeah,
did you see what he was doing?
yeah. I think that was really interesting because he almost I to be Jakob Mensik, he's a pretty young guy, right? So I feel like especially in a big Grand Slam, it's easy to get rattled by the crowds or by the big moments. But honestly, I'd say respect to him, taking that moment where the kind of crowd's going at him, and he made it his own, really, which I think is awesome.
Yeah. Dude, I was watching it live when it happened, and I
Hmm.
swear I saw a little bit of Medvedev in him in
Oh,
that moment.
definitely,
You know,
definitely, yeah,
just messing with the crowd.
yeah. I
And
mean,
dude,
that's
he's only 19 too. Mueller's like
yeah.
28, 29.
Hmm.
Dude, Menchik, I mean, he's got an amazing career ahead of him. And Mueller has been playing really well like
Hmm.
lately. So I mean to open against, one of the French contenders,
Hmm.
in a late night game too. I mean, I just thought he was a class act, and then that was just a
Hmm.
cherry on the cake of
Yeah.
going up
Well,
against the French
conducting,
crowd.
that's awesome. Because I mean, I feel
It
like
really was great.
you love to see when a player can kind of show emotion. Because I feel like for such a long time, you had like it was either like a player like Federer who was super composed, then on the other hand, you had like Kyrgios was super entertaining, but he was known for those
Hmm.
outbursts, and Medvedev is also a guy who's kind of lets his emotions get into play when he's on court, and I feel like it's almost become I'm not gonna say looked down on, but people are sometimes like, oh, I kind of wish we had the old days where the players were composed and it was a gentleman sport. But personally, I kind of love when the players show a little emotion. It shows they're human at the end of the day.
Mm.
So I feel like seeing that, especially in a big moment at the slam, is awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, I loved it.
Hmm.
I thought it was great. And then I guess kind of, next thing I wanted to hit here, Monfils and Draper.
Hmm. Another
The
French guy right there.
four setter, another French guy.
Hmm.
What'd you think of that match?
Well, I mean, I've loved Monfils since I can remember, and when you think about Monfils, you don't necessarily think about the word winner, but you think about entertainment. And I feel like that match is kind of what Monfils was about. He's a guy who can kind of ride the wave of the crowd and use their energy to help lift them up. And he's pretty well liked by everybody, and the fans absolutely love him. So I feel like that match was kind of the perfect example of he's getting up there in age, but he's still fighting, he's still putting in work, and he entertained as he always does.
Dude, entertain like to the next level.
Hmm.
It was ridiculous. I mean, I there was actually like one point where it was like literally vintage Monfils. I thought he was going to do a
Hmm.
360. He jumped up to go get the ball in the air, put it in the corner, won the point.
Hmm.
I think that might have been. It was definitely I think it was the third or fourth set. But I mean, oh, it must have been. Yeah, it must have been the fourth. Because I think it went Draper first set. Monfils took the second. Third was Draper. And
Hmm.
then fourth was Monfils? No, because they didn't go to a fifth.
But Monfils was up in that set,
Oh,
though. I remember.
oh, he was up in the fourth. That's what it was.
Yeah,
He had that crumbling.
yeah.
Yes, that the fourth set was absolutely mind-boggling.
Hmm.
Watching classic prime Monfils play like, I mean, the way that we've seen him play for years. I
Hmm.
mean, I was looking at some of the comments on like these Instagram posts about Monfils' performance. Like French fans were saying how they were like on their feet for like the entirety
Hmm.
of the match. Like, I mean, this guy
Yeah.
was just conducting the crowd like
Hmm.
none other. Like, I'm pretty sure there came to a point where it was definitely in the fourth set. I think it was either at like 2-2 or 3-2. After every point Monfils would win, which I will say like was like mostly a good point.
Hmm.
Because I mean it's hard to get anything past Draper. There's no
Yeah.
freebies. He was he would literally just stand there and
Hmm.
just like do his look. You know, he'd hit it, he'd go,
Yeah.
what? He'd hit the massive forehand down the line and just go,
Hmm.
and then the crowd would just go crazy.
Well, I feel like he's a guy he knows how to work the crowd really well, and like moments like that where
Yeah.
it's like you're just super passionate in the points, the crowd loves it. I mean, we love it. Every tennis fan loves it.
Yeah. No, there was literally a fire like in his eyes that I could
Hmm.
see. And I mean the crowd was just lighting the flame like literally after every time he hit a big shot.
Hmm.
It was absolutely ridiculous.
No, I
And
mean,
every point was like a lung buster too. I had no
yeah.
idea how he was doing that. He's like hunched over after,
Hmm.
after every point ends.
But I feel like almost I'd be kind of curious to see your opinion on it. You know, you said it was a lot of his points were lung busters, and I feel like for a guy who's so talented and obviously has the ability to play some really good offensive tennis, you know, all these highlight reel shots, he tends to kind of stay back behind the baseline and almost play this super defensive counterpunchy play style, which I feel like
Yeah.
sometimes kind of gets him in trouble a little bit.
Mm. Yeah, no, you're right. I'm not gonna lie. Draper really abused the drop shot.
Hmm.
Like a lot. He was he was losing a decent amount of points, but once he started finding it more
Hmm.
consistently, I mean, it was a problem. It was a big problem for Monfils.
And I
And
feel
I
like that's an
mean,
interesting tactic
like,
because, you know, Monfils is so
yeah,
fast.
I know, dude. I mean, he'll get to everything. You have to
Hmm.
close.
Yeah.
You just have to. Um, and I mean, his serve was really popping too in that fourth set,
Hmm.
Monfils. And I mean, actually, this was something that I was curious. What do you think of like players now standing so far back that like the camera can't even see them?
Hmm.
Like, what do you think of that? Like, do you like that? Do you like that serving is kind of removed in these like clay court events almost?
I mean, I feel like especially on the clay, when that speed is maybe not as fast, that bounce is going to go higher. I could see why it's a good idea, but and you know, I feel like the guys just keep getting more athletic every year. Obviously, technology gets better, so maybe they can afford to have a step or two back. But I'm always a fan for, you know, guys kind of hugging the baseline a little bit or staying aggressive and putting pressure on a guy right off the return. I love to see that. But I think especially, you know, the players that talk about the balls getting heavier and slowing down, right? The surfaces obviously have slowed down over the years. I feel like it's almost a trend that we're just going to see guys just stand farther and farther back.
Yeah, yeah. No, I know. I mean, it's harder and harder to be a serve bot nowadays. And I mean, if we're
Mhm.
talking clay, like, I mean, what serve bots are even left in the draw right now? Like,
Well,
I
we
don't,
just
I
had,
don't
you know,
even. Are there any?
Shelton. He's a big server. He just lost today against Al. I mean, kind of unlucky for him to draw Alcaraz, of course. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, the serve bots, unless it's a grass court or a fast hard court, which we don't really see that much anymore. I feel like their effectiveness has definitely died down because a couple years ago
mm,
there were guys like Karlovic. He was a big name for a while. Isner, obviously, one of
Mhm.
our favorite servbots.
Shout
Um,
out Isner,
Shout
if
out
you're seeing
Isner.
this.
And speaking of Isner, we got Sam Querrey as well. He was a bit of a serve bot.
Oh,
I remember,
yeah.
um, yeah, but I feel like the serve bot way. I mean, obviously we got a guy like Opelka, and I know me and you had a conversation about this earlier this year. But the young guy, Giovanni Pesci Pericard, he's kind of like the last
Oh,
hope. I almost feel like for the
he
serve
might be
bots.
the last hope. He really is. And sneaky Gabe Diallo too, which we'll get
Yeah.
to later.
Hmm.
But I think there could be some potential serve bots to make a
Hmm.
comeback. But Pesci is like he is an anomaly because he's not even
Yes.
just a serve bot. He can move. Like
Especially at his height, he's like what 6'7" or something like that. To move the way he
no, dude,
does
he's
is
like I think he's like 6'10" or 6'11"
yeah
or
six.
he
Let's
am I
find out.
wrong? I mean, he's ridiculously tall. It's crazy. Let's see though.
He's
What do we
6'8",
got? Oh my goodness. I mean, and the way he
but
moves
still,
is
yeah.
just unreal. I mean,
Well,
dude, he's more
I mean,
flexible than the both of us.
yeah, yeah. I mean, not to get on a tangent, but I remember I think it was maybe like the Paris Masters indoors last year, or maybe it was Basel indoors, where he just went on a tear and he was
Mm,
serving easily 200 plus kilometers first and second serves,
dude,
and he just put on a clinic.
second serve. Yeah, you're right. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Man, the last time you saw a second serve like that was what, Sampras?
And Sampras was another guy I think who, while he had a huge serve, he had all the other pieces there for him that he could. Well, I mean, he was doing something right to end up with 14 Grand Slams, but
Yeah,
yeah.
he was dominating for sure. But I mean, that was before they slowed down the hard courts, you
Hmm.
know? So it's another thing to keep in mind. But I'm not a fan of having the courts so long. I wish they
Hmm.
were honestly a little shortened, just
Hmm.
because then, I mean, first of all, we're going to be able to see people on the camera, when we're
Hmm.
actually filming, when we're recording these points, for viewers.
Hmm.
But then also just, I don't know, maybe we get a little more, serve action going. I mean,
Hmm.
it's all just. I mean, almost everything could be returned unless it's perfect on clay.
Yeah,
When someone's all the way back there, or maybe we see more underhands. I'd love to see more
hmm
underhands. That'd be. I'd love that. You know.
I think it would be awesome. But I mean, speaking of the camera angle, one thing that's kind of been my pet peeve for years is how they have like the kind of like top-down broadcast view whenever they're on
Hmm.
TV. I would love to see more court level. Like I know tennis TV, they'll post clips, on court level sometimes, but I feel like you really get to understand how fast and how much spin is on
Dude,
these balls when it's court
yeah.
level.
Court level is. I mean, I love it. I think
Hmm.
it's how it should always be.
Yeah.
You get to see the true speed. Oh,
Hmm.
it's awesome. I could go on forever about why, all the reasons why the ATP tour should switch to court level view.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a million, honestly. Um, well, all right. Let's get back to the RG here. Your predictions. Who do you think could potentially pull it off? We're kind of deep now. I mean, are we fully wrapped up third round? Are we only fourth round matches now?
I think
I think today
I
was the
think we're
last third round.
yeah. Well, there's all fourth round. Some of the matches already happened, and then we have I think a couple more tomorrow. I know we're going to talk a little bit about Cam Norrie later. I know he has a big match versus Djokovic tomorrow. But speaking of
Yeah.
Djokovic, I think it's been so many years, and he's obviously done it so many times. Even when he wasn't the favorite, I think it'd be wrong to not put him in there in terms of people I think would win. Um, would I like to see maybe somebody else win? Yeah, but is he always going to be a name and a contender? I definitely think so because just the way he can raise his level when it matters most is
Oh,
incredible, and he has the experience. I think so.
dude, my chair, I have it like locked, just slipped out. Did you see?
Oh,
Did you see that?
I saw you
I
go
just
back a
went
little bit. I
boom.
thought you were just gonna go.
Yeah. Oh well. All right. I'll keep it unlocked. We'll keep it loose. Dude, I agree. I honestly, I've never been the biggest Djokovic fan, but he's
Hmm.
almost forced me to become more of a fan than I was, at
Hmm.
this point. Um, And I mean, I think what it would do for the tennis world if he won, what would it mean for him to pull off a Grand Slam, like
Well,
against
he's
these
at
new gen players too?
he's at 24 slams right now, and so Margaret Court has that
25.
record where she has the most slams across both genders. She has 24, right? And I want to say
Mm,
Serena might have also tied her with 24. I could be wrong
really?
about that. Um, Let me double check on that one. But a win here could mean that Djokovic across the Open era and the previous era has now the most Grand Slams across both guys and girls, which I mean kind of just solidifies him as, you know, I like the other two. I like Roger and I like Rafa, but the
Oh,
numbers
come
are just
on.
adding
No,
up too
we
much.
can't get into the GOAT conversation
We
right
that
now.
we'll
No,
save
no,
that
no.
for another day because
There's no
it's
time.
gonna be a
There's no
long
time.
one.
People can't know who I actually would pick for that. People can't know. They can have their guesses. But
So yeah,
I
Serena's 23 actually. So
oh, 23. Okay.
yeah, but yeah,
So
Djokovic one more
it,
could put him where he
it's only
needs to be.
one. One
Yeah.
is standing in his way. And I think another guy with the last name that starts with a D that
hmm
might be able to pull it off. I mean, we're talking the British lad, Jack Draper. I
hmm
mean, we saw what he did with Monfils. He's been
hmm
playing absolutely out of his mind. I mean,
Yes.
the trajectory he's taken, over the past couple years, and even just
hmm
this year, dude, he's
This year
gotten
I think has
so
been
much
great.
better.
Yeah.
He's gotten so much better.
hmm
How far he's gonna go, I have no idea. But I mean, he has all the skills. He's got everything.
And I feel like, for years the British people they had Andy Murray. He was doing his thing, but he obviously had some steep competition to play
Oh
against,
yeah.
and this might be the break kind of for another British player to kind of put themselves up there as a real contender, not just for this year, but I think for the years to come.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I absolutely love his game. I wish he had a one hand. Just
hmm
obviously biased, but I truly think that you know he could get to the final, let alone maybe pull it off. And then
hmm
I think a sleeper for me that I think you might also feel the same way. I mean, it'd be a long shot, but Lorenzo Musetti has been playing like a man possessed. What are your thoughts on Musetti pulling it off? Is it
So
possible?
I've
Give me the
really
analysis.
like his game for a really, really long time now. I remember when I watched him a little bit when he was in the next gen finals a couple years ago. Um, and his game is just I feel like it's super aesthetically pleasing the way he played. But for years he was just kind of inconsistent. He had these runs where he played great and things would kind of sort of taper off. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the haircut, maybe it was switching to, switching sponsors, switching away from Nike. I don't know what it is to be honest with you, but he has been playing some great tennis. He's I think given the one-handed backhand fans a player to kind of look up to, but he
Yes,
just plays
yes.
great. He plays incredible tennis. And I would be out of all the guys left, I would if I could pick somebody to win and they would win, he would be the guy.
Wow. Oh, wow. And that's saying something, honestly.
Yeah.
Knowing you here, rooting for Musetti. That's wow. I like that. I like that. I mean, honestly, I think Tiafoe would be probably my pick just because,
hmm
I mean, dude, I feel like, he's had such inconsistent results, for him to
Yeah.
finally do something big. I mean,
hmm
I'd love that. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
But
And actually speaking
Musetti
of
is definitely much more likely. But dude, I don't know that
yeah.
one hand backhand with the clay. I mean, we know Federer was able to handle it, but I mean, it's obviously as someone who has a one hand, it's a liability a lot of the
Well,
time.
yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, I think our last one-handed backhand French winner was must have been Wawrinka in 2015.
dude, and he literally went through like the Avengers
Yeah.
get to that point.
And
Stan
he was a funny
Wawrinka
guy.
2015 legacy run, dude.
He he would just the rest of the season he would kind of just do whatever. Anytime it was a grand slam, especially playing against Djokovic, he would suddenly just a spark would click and he was just going for it. So
Yeah,
another one-handed backhand winner 10 years later, that could be awesome.
dude, the day everyone became a fan of
Hmm.
Stan the Man. I love it. Yeah, dude. I mean, honestly, it's not going to be Tsitsipas. It would have to be Musetti.
It would have to
And
be.
speaking of which, dude, the fall of Tsitsipas, like, could this be?
Yeah.
Is this the downfall of Stefanos? Like, what's happening?
Well, here's the thing. I remember a couple years ago, he had some good runs on clay. I remember in the Masters series tournaments, he was playing well.
Hmm.
He got to,
That
maybe
super
one or two
spinny
French
game.
finals. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that backhand is just killing him. It really is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, is it a mental thing? It has to be because we
I
know
feel
what
like at
he's
that level, it
capable
has
of.
to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know. Well, we've seen he's been tinkering around with his not only his technique, but even his gear. Because I remember for a while he switched away
Oh,
from that platform serve, started
yes.
using pinpoint. Have you seen that blacked out racket that
Dude,
he?
yeah, I don't even know what was going on with that. He was
Mhm.
like hiding what he was trying to test out, you know?
Well, I mean, so I guess like the rumor and like the thought was that's he's playing with like a pure arrow, a Babolat, and he's obviously the one of, if not the big guy for Wilson sponsoring them. That's a big switch, a big move. Yeah, but I think I would have to say that that ship has sailed, I think, unless he can really, really change something around.
Yeah. Yeah. It almost kind of reminds me of like Zverev a little bit. I
Hmm.
mean, having all the capabilities to be able
Hmm.
to win. I think Zverev has a little bit of a better mental. And I think Zverev could go down the same road, maybe as
Hmm.
Tsitsipas, but I think he still has hope. But people have been saying like if Zverev doesn't win one soon, like I don't think he's ever going to be able to actually like break through. You know, because I think
Hmm.
the last time he had a chance was it against Sinner Alcaraz? He was in a final, but I forget
I
who he
know.
was with. That was in is that in Melbourne?
I think he did have a slam final there. We know he had that one over the pandemic against Dominic Team.
Oh, but the
Um,
team one I'll never forget. And then team fell off the face of the
mhm.
earth.
Yeah, I mean, Team, one of my favorite players. Kind of stinks what happened to his wrist. That was a real, real bummer. He was always one of my favorite players. So yeah, he made the
Hmm.
finals of Australian Open this year, lost to Sinner. He made the finals of the
God, it
French last
was.
year. Um, and then we know about that US Open one
Oh,
that he lost.
yeah.
And yeah, so last year we had that big 5-7 against
Alcaraz.
Alcaraz.
Alcaraz and the French. Dude.
Yeah,
And was that Alcaraz's first French?
I
Is that his first
believe
French
that
Open win?
that was his first French. Yeah.
And I think people were saying, it doesn't really count because was it the first time that none of the big three were in the tournament?
I don't remember,
I don't
but
think
at that
Djokovic was
point,
in that. I don't think Joker or Rafa were in that
well, no, I
tournament.
think he did play Djokovic. I think Alcaraz had Djokovic in the semis that tournament, but then
Oh, really?
obviously Djokovic came back in the Paris Olympics and then just he did his thing.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
But if you
I mean, the
remember,
Paris Olympics was crazy. Yeah.
yeah, if you remember that, do you remember that match? It was Zverev versus Rafa in the semis. I think it was like maybe 2022 when he like maybe it was broke his ankle. Do you remember that? It was an incredible match.
Oh my
Um,
goodness. Yes, that was going to
yeah,
be one of the greatest matches I think of all time.
yeah.
And he ended up having to leave because of injury.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness. Like the first set was some ridiculous amount of time. Like
Hmm.
it was like 80 minutes or something, 80
Yeah.
90 minutes, I don't know.
And I
Um
feel like I wonder
yeah.
if there's almost any mental block. Obviously tennis is a
Mm,
super physical sport where you're moving all the time. I wonder if he kind of has a little bit of that thought in the
yeah.
back of his mind about the ankle.
I mean, not many players can say they've made it to three Grand Slam finals and then
Hmm.
lost all three. Like that.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just a brutal resume builder. Like,
it is. But he
I
did
mean,
win the
that just
Olympics though.
hurts.
He did get
That's
that one
true.
in 2020. So
That's true. Yes.
yeah,
And I think he's gotten a couple Masters 1000s.
yeah, he does have a couple under his belt. So
Yeah, he's
I
got a
mean,
couple. He's got a couple thousands.
he has a lot of things to be happy about. But I would have to agree with you if he doesn't. put something special together soon. I think the young
Yeah,
guys are it's their time
they're
now.
they're just getting better. I agree.
Yeah.
And I mean, Matteo Gigante, bro, shout out to him. I mean, it's 6'4", 5'7", 6'2", 6'4".
You know that guy was
And
probably so hype after the match. That's a huge win for world number 167.
dude, the Shelton cleanup 3-3 and 4.
Yeah.
Dude, and then Shelton had a walkover too against was it Phil's? Was it Arthur Phil's?
Yeah, he did. He pulled out. I forget why it was. I'm sure it must have been something
Yeah,
injury related,
Shelton
but that
Shelton had a walkover after Gigante. I don't know
yeah,
if it was Phil's. I think it was though.
yeah.
And then another player who had a weird kind of too early exit.
Hmm.
Um, but it's not uncharacteristic like too uncharacteristic for him. Medvedev.
Hmm.
I mean, I love the guy. It's
Hmm.
just clay. It's not his surface. Not at all.
Which
He
is
says
weird
I hate
though.
clay. I hate it.
Yeah. I mean,
Why do you think it's weird?
last year or when was it? It was I think it was 2023. He won the Rome Masters on clay, and he was playing incredible on clay. Which he
Oh
obviously
yeah.
said that he didn't like playing on clay. But you almost have to wonder, as a guy who is so good at defending, so good at running the ball around, his struggles on clay are kind of it's a little lost to me why he hasn't had better performances.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I mean it makes no sense. And I think the history of like these first round exits
Hmm.
like at Roland Garros are like I mean they're bizarre. I mean
Hmm.
17, 18, 19, 20, 21 he lost in the quarters to none other than Tsitsipas.
Hmm.
And then in 22, fourth round exit to Chilich. But then 2023, just 2 years ago, first round exit to Say Both Wild. And I don't even know what happened to Tiago Say Both Wild. I mean, he had that crazy win against Medvedev when Medvedev was
Hmm.
playing well. 2023, he played great. I mean, like you said, he won the Rome Masters on clay against
Hmm.
Rune 5-5. Um, and then, dude, Norrie in 5 sets. I mean, and Norrie, I mean, that's a whole other story. He's been something else, and I think we might see a little bit of return. So, what do you think? Is the return of Cam Norrie is it legit? Is it happening, or is it
Well,
not happening? Is this just is are we getting our hopes up about Norrie?
I'll be honest with you. Even from the when days he was playing at TCU and when he kind of broke onto tour, never been the biggest fan of Nori. Something about the shovel backhand and just kind of the way he plays is. I'm a big guy for aesthetics, and I'm gonna say he has
Yeah.
the most aesthetic play
Oh,
style. But
dude,
yeah, a little bunt.
yeah,
But
the elbow pop to the nose.
yeah, I mean, but obviously you like to see guys compete, and you like to see these tight matches. So I kind of do hope that he can maybe push Djokovic a little tomorrow, give us some good tennis. But I feel like I don't know. He had a while where he was playing really, really well, and I don't really know what happened. I remember he had a couple great matches against Alcaraz in the past. Um, but yeah, I don't know what happened because he was like what? He was ranked somewhere like top 12 in the world at one point.
Yeah, no, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
So.
I mean, he was up there. I mean, I don't know
Hmm.
if he cracked top 10, but I mean, he was like right there with
Yeah.
everyone. I think like one of the most interesting things was his kind of slump that he had,
Hmm.
which was honestly like pretty recently, and I would say that it wasn't until this year that he
Hmm.
really kind of bounced back. I mean, starting the start of 2025, he was 91. Man,
Wow.
starting 2025 at 91 and then playing Djokovic in a fourth round at the Roland Garros doesn't usually happen for players at like 91.
Hmm.
But I mean, I think he's done a good job to bounce back. 2024 was a rough year. He
Hmm.
started out pretty well, but I mean, in tennis, dude, it's so cutthroat. You get an
Yeah.
injury, you slide down to you could slide out of
Hmm.
the top 100. If
Hmm.
you're one of those top 20 guys, but you're not top 10, I
Yeah.
mean, we're talking about a guy who was 18 at the start of 2024, and at the start of 25. Now he's 91. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
tennis is cutthroat, and
It
um,
is.
I mean that forearm injury he had before the Paris Olympics. He
Hmm.
missed the U.S. Open and the Davis Cup. He returns in October, and he just has some bad losses.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, he lost. He actually got to the final in Metz. He lost to Bonzi, but I mean, can't you, dude, losing to Bonzi in the final?
Hmm.
Benjamin Bonzi, bro, really? Whatever. Besides the point.
Yeah.
I think he's back. I don't think it's a facade. I think I think he's going to keep continuing to improve and perform, and I think we're going to see the old Norrie for sure,
Well,
especially
for
for
his
this
sake,
for the rest of this
let's
year.
hope so.
Let's hope so. No more forearm injuries. Come on, Cam.
Yeah.
You got to stay healthy for Wimbledon. But dude, we got to talk about this. The brand kits. What are your thoughts on the ones this year?
Well, I think across the board, it's been a little poor. You know,
Dude, it's been so poor.
especially, obviously Nike and Adidas have always been kind of the two really big brands for tennis players. I know other ones are starting to kind of creep in more recent times. But what was going on, especially with Adidas? Have you seen what they have the players rocking?
Dude, it makes me want to like throw up, like projectile
Yeah.
vomit. I think it's atrocious, dude.
Hmm.
Who came up with this? Who decided that this would be good for the Roland Garros, one of the
I always
biggest
think that
four tournaments?
they took a tennis ball and they were like, what, this color's great, and they just slapped it on the players' shirts.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea what's going on. Maybe Adidas is trying to like help out its players when they go on runs through Paris, and say there's some cars late at night driving around, and you
Yeah,
know,
little
I
safety
mean,
vest type of coloring.
yeah, like what are we really doing here? How reflective do we have to be?
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, the one thing that just kind of annoys me with Adidas compared to some of the other brands is, I mean, they just gave every single Adidas player the same exact thing.
Hmm.
The same exact. Like,
Yeah.
dude, we have players matching up against each other wearing the same exact
Hmm.
uniform. And it doesn't even look good.
Well, I feel
That's
like
awful.
especially like if you're the a fire rated player, we know a lot of other companies will give their flagship players a separate kit. No other player is allowed to wear it. Um, Adidas, that's having everybody wear the same thing, whether you're, number 300 in the world or if you're in the top 10. I feel like I don't know.
Yeah, dude, I'm not a fan. And you look at
Hmm.
Gabe Diallo and Cerundolo, I mean,
Hmm.
dude, maybe if Sarundolo was given a little bit of a better outfit, he would have done a little bit better against Diallo, dude. Because I mean, first round. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I think Gabe Diallo is the future. I watched him play against Dimitrov,
Hmm.
and he took him out, and he played exceptionally, especially in this
Hmm.
one tiebreak where I mean there was a lot of pressure. Um, I think Diallo is the future. He's also 6'8". He's
And he's
Canadian,
also a really young guy, super
really
young.
young, dude, and he
Yeah.
moves
Hmm.
incredibly. Great mover. I mean, like you see guys at 6'8" in tennis, and then you see
Hmm.
guys at 6'8" in basketball.
Hmm.
The guys who are 6'8" in tennis, like, can basically outmove any of these 6'8" basketball players. Maybe not from a height, like a jumping perspective, but dude,
Hmm.
lateral movement. I mean, they're freaks of nature. They're like spiders. They're
Well, like think
literally
about
like
like this,
spiders.
like you got guys who are 6'8", like, open stance sliding on the court. I feel like if a lot of other people tried that at that height, their knees would not be there anymore, So to
Dude,
have that kind
yeah,
of athleticism and control is it's just incredible.
yeah. I mean, and you look at Opelka too. I mean, 6 foot
Hmm.
11. Dude, when we're talking like a 6'11" player, like I mean that's a center on an NBA basketball team, and they're not doing anything too acrobatic. I mean, you have Victor
Yeah,
Wembanyama, at seven
yeah, it's a little
whatever,
different though.
and I mean, yeah, it's ridiculous. I just think, I mean, the game is getting taller and taller, and it's getting
Hmm.
like faster and faster, and it. I have no
Yeah.
idea, but I mean, people are keeping up.
Hmm.
People are keeping up. So I guess outside of the Lucid Lime kit for Adidas, I mean let's
Hmm.
let's talk Nike.
Well,
Um, we all
Speaking
know
of the green
one of the
color,
yeah, one of the biggest players in tennis is wearing one of the
hmm
weirdest outfits I've ever seen.
well, I don't really know what that color combination, it's just, as a kid, I would always wear these disgusting like highlighter combination fits, or every kid has this phase in,
Yeah,
late elementary school, middle school, where you just put together some atrocious color
yeah.
combinations.
The
I
Adidas
think Sinner
highlighter
hit that
fit.
phase
Yeah,
now. So,
dude.
yeah.
I mean,
I
he's
mean,
regressing.
yeah. I mean, yeah, like what do you even think the inspiration is behind that color combination for that? Like,
I mean, Luigi from Super Mario Brothers. I don't know. I mean, he literally looks like he's Luigi, and I mean,
yeah, that
Luigi is honestly probably one of the better tennis players in Super Mario Brothers tennis. So, I mean, maybe we're going for something there, but
yeah.
I don't know, dude. I think, I always looked at Nike as one of those more elite tennis brands, with
hmm
Agassi back in the day.
hmm
But I mean, dude, I think they've really fallen off. I mean, Adidas is obviously way worse, but it's Adidas. It's
Yeah.
gonna be worse. They're gonna be
Yeah.
the highlighters. They're the highlighter
hmm
team. Nike, I mean, come on, impress us. Don't give us the Nike X Luigi combo. Like,
Yeah.
who wants that collab?
Well, I mean, if you remember back to like when like Federer was in Nike, they always had him, you know, wearing something. I remember they used to like Wimbledon stuff like that. They give him like a knitted jacket and everything.
Mm.
Even Kyrgios had like those like Nike collabs with like Kyrie for his shoes, stuff like that. We like the Air Jordan Nike collabs and some of the Vapors. I'm not really too sure what kind of direction they're going in with the kits. If you saw have you seen the striped kid that Alcaraz has?
The stripe. I think, yeah. No, I did see the stripes with Alcaraz, and honestly,
That
like,
one, yeah.
it's a little better, I think. But I mean, bro, how basic do we need to be?
Yeah, and his one
Come on.
almost, Sinner kind of reminds me of Luigi. I feel like the Alcaraz one is almost like, you see a cartoon prisoner just escape with the white and black stripes. It kind of reminds me of that. So,
Dude, I know. And then same with Draper. I think it was like a rinse and
hmm
repeat. They gave him the same exact stripes and just gave him a little bit of a different color.
yeah,
So I
the
mean,
creativity's at an
they gotta
all-time
work
low
on it.
in the
All
tennis
time,
world, I
dude.
think.
Let's start doing some more like legitimate, custom, unique
hmm
outfits. Let's bring that to the space. And I think honestly, someone who impressed me, who I think is, maybe not the first guy you would think of when it comes to fashion,
hmm
Riley Opelka.
With his, like, was it pink color Fila kit, right?
Dude, the all pink Fila kit, even the hat. He was rocking a pink hat. I
I
thought
feel
it was
like
awesome.
I'm a big fan of, you know, having an outfit of all the same color, especially for tennis. And I feel like, it's simple. You're not doing the stripes, you're not doing the patterns. It's one color, but you stick with it. You just rock with it the whole time. And I love that.
Yeah, no, I think Fila could be like a much bigger player than they are right
hmm
now. I don't think they've ever really been a dominant, kind of tennis brand.
hmm
I think they're trying to go that way. And I think one of the signals of that is, I mean, they acquired Lulu Sun to the team
mm
recently. I think that was in January.
hmm
One of the, kind of big and up and coming like WTA stars right now.
hmm
I think she's, is going to continue to get better. But I mean, the only other guy on the ATP tour, like I think rocking Fila that I can really think of is Nakashima. And I mean,
hmm
that kind of says a lot. When Opelka's your number one guy and Nakashima's your number two. I mean, I
Yeah.
love those two Americans, but I mean, we're not going to see like any crazy results, you
hmm
know.
Well,
Except
speaking
maybe
of,
Opelka on hard court or grass, but
yeah, he could probably get a good run in there. Well, speaking of Lulu, you know,
oh my
another kit that
gosh,
was
yeah.
done really, really well, I think, was the Lululemon Tiafoe kit. And I know he had that big move away from Nike,
Yes.
but blue's my favorite color, and I think they really did something well with that.
Dude, yeah, I think it was an awesome fit.
hmm
I think Lululemon, kudos to them. They actually went out and they were like, you know what, let's make our guy a good fit.
Hmm.
If only Adidas could match this, could
Yeah,
match this, dude. And you know what? Is there a correlation to outfits and performance? Tiafoe's still in it. He's still
it's
going.
true.
I mean, like he just beat all timer today,
Hmm.
which
In
I've
straights, I
never
think.
seen I've never seen all timer like go this far. He had a big win over
Hmm.
someone too. I forget who it was though. He had an upset. You remember who that was?
I don't remember off the top of my head,
Let me take a peek.
but even though, well, if the fits reflect performance, we still have Luigi and we still have the prisoner fit in.
Still have
So
Luigi.
we'll have to see if it's a battle of the fits, I think, in this tournament, and we'll have to
It
see.
it is a battle that fits.
Mhm,
Francis Tiafoe, give the U.S. a Grand Slam. That'd be
hopefully.
great. Oh, it was Taylor Fritz, dude, our very
Well,
own. That's who it was. All-timer beat Taylor Fritz in the first round.
man,
Dude,
Fritz
seven
is
five 3-6 6-3 6-1. Oh, top
he's been
10
struggling
opponent
this
too.
year. He has been struggling this year.
Oh, dude, I know, and I don't know what it is. Do you think maybe it's because his girlfriend is just making too much content? He's just getting bombarded in the social media world.
I don't know. I mean,
She's
she's a
doing
little
too much
scary, I'll be
modeling.
honest. So yeah.
Taylor Fritz needs to he needs to tone back on the modeling and start focusing
Focus
more on
on
tennis,
tennis.
bro.
Yeah.
Like we get it, dude. You're one of the most attractive players on tour. And your girlfriend needs to make her social media content and do her day in the lives, bro.
Hmm.
But we need you here. From a top 10 US American, we cannot have you losing in the first round to Daniel
Yeah.
Alltimer. We can't have that.
Well, you know
Simply
what?
cannot.
Speaking of distractions, you got to feel bad a little bit for Tommy Paul because beginning of RG, he had the little truck issue, which I think
Dude,
it,
that
it
was
was kind of
hilarious.
funny in his press conferences when he talked about it. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Dude, I thought that was awesome. I mean, I think the first time I saw it was I was on Instagram and there was like an
Hmm.
article and I was like, dude, this has to be like a spoof. Like this is like
Hmm.
what is this? It's not April. It's not April Fools.
Yeah.
And then I looked it up and it's true. Dude,
Hmm.
his Ford F-150 got repossessed because he didn't make his payments on time. And dude, I just don't, at that level, when you're one of the top tennis players in the world and you're
Yeah.
making like millions and millions of dollars, I mean, how are you like forgetting to make your like pay it off, man? Why are
You
you on
you
a
got to put the
payment plan,
automatic payments off at that point. You know what I
dude? Or
mean?
just
Just
paid in full. Like,
yeah.
I think he made a joke. He said, what did he say? Because I remember seeing this. Oh, I got the I got the F-150 back. I'm excited. I took it back. I'm excited to get it back. I had to win a couple of matches so I could pay it off.
Well, it's funny. I think it's nice that he kind of was able to take the lighthearted approach to
Yeah.
that.
And
But
then
yeah, I remember.
he had to have his like agent or something go pick it up, or
Yeah,
his
it's like the
coach or
agent or
something.
trainer or something went up and had to get it for him. So
Dude, what a
yeah,
guy. Come on, Mr. Paul.
but yeah,
That's a great story.
yeah. Another one that I love to watch play. I know he won. I think it was Junior French Open in 2015. So 10 years later, maybe he can make some moves and
Yeah,
and make a deep run.
yeah. No, I think there's a very real chance of him getting to the semis.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure though there is one really tough match that stands in the way of that. I forget who it is. Let me take a peek real quick because we gotta talk about how doable this is for Tommy
Mhm.
Paul. All right, let's see. So in order to make the semis, the opponents that he would have to dude, it would be Alcaraz
So maybe not, but they've had some
in the
good matches in the
quarters.
past. So he maybe he could.
Dude, I think he actually beat him once. I
He did. I
remember.
remember
Was it
he
Clay?
had. I thought it was hard, but I know he's had some good matches against Alcaraz. He always seem to go the distance. So I kind of hope that he can you know, make a push for it.
He's like a sneaky like Alcaraz kryptonite. Like just the way he
Yeah.
plays. I am not sure what it is about his game. I think Tommy Paul's one of the more crafty players, I think, on
Hmm.
tour. I think that's what it is. And we saw that when Alcaraz was playing against Shelton.
Hmm.
When Shelton was able to be crafty and he was able to play these kind of, unexpected drop shots like that,
Hmm.
maybe when it doesn't make sense to play a drop shot. Alcaraz is just too good when it's a regular rally. Like
Yeah.
you're better off flipping a coin and rolling the dice with a weird
Hmm.
drop shot and playing like a weird point.
Yeah.
And I think out of the majority of the points that Shelton won that were pretty good points. I mean, yeah, you can hit a couple winners on Alcaraz, but that's not sustainable.
Hmm.
It was when he was drop shotting. That was some of his most successful kind of tactical points.
Hmm.
So what does that
But
say? What does that say for Paul?
I feel like, yeah, Paul is he's super smart. I think the one thing that's really stands out to me is he's just, he's so athletic. I feel like he's probably one of the most in shape players on tour where
Mm,
he can hustle for days. And I think that's going to be super important, especially on the clay. Points are going to be long, kind of heavy on the body. And if it's going to go the distance, he has the athleticism for it, but I guess we just kind of got to see if he can hold through the, barrage of Alcaraz's attacks. Because we know how deep
oh,
his bag is and all the tools that he has. And obviously he's confident. He just won last year, so he has something to defend. So it'll be interesting to see how that match turns out.
yeah, and I think honestly, like when Paul is playing really well, when I think he's like in his game, in his
Hmm.
bag, he's one of the most patient players on tour, 100%.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's patient Paul. Um, he will go cross court with you until
Hmm.
like your ankles fall off from trying to
Yeah.
potentially cover down the line, but you're still keeping that cross court. I mean, he's
Hmm.
just so patient. And then when he pulls the trigger, I mean, he's decisive enough to be able to come up and he'll put the volley away
Yeah.
9 times out of 10. He's a great volleyer, good hands. But yeah, I mean, I don't think the repossession helped him, but here
Yeah.
he is now. So obviously, maybe it was for the best, because we're
Hmm.
seeing a great result from him right now.
Well,
Um,
so speaking of, I know we talked a little bit about our American players, right? And
mhm.
we had a good amount of American players make it forward, but I know we talked a lot on the men's side. Um, you know, who's your thoughts on the women's side? Who are you looking to bring it home?
I mean, dude, I'd be lying if I didn't say Coco Golf would
Hmm.
be, my favorite to take it home for the women. Dude, I think it's her time. I think right now, I mean,
Hmm.
the way she's been playing, I think she's positioned to be able to go the distance and to pull it off. And
Yeah,
honestly, dude, I wish like maybe even just for like the final. What if like the final of the women's Roland Garros was 5 sets? You know,
make it a little longer.
I'd love to see like two of the best female players in the world just go at it
Hmm.
for another 2 sets potentially. I
Yeah.
mean, we'd really get to see, the true grittiness of what goes on in WTA tennis. Because I think
Hmm.
there's usually less power than in the men's. So we get
Yeah.
some of these longer points sometimes. And with these longer points, I mean, that would be something crazy to be able to watch as a 5 setter and say the
I
final of
think
a Grand
so.
Slam.
Yeah, especially because I feel like we've had some of the greatest matches in history be five setters in the big moments. It's not
Mm,
just about who can, get out there and play well, but it's about who can kind of keep that level going the entirety of that long match. So I feel like that'd be super interesting. But on my side, you know, one person on the lady side I've always kind of liked watching is Madison Keys, and she just won her first slam
oh,
this year
Madison
at the
Keys.
Australian Open. So I
Yeah.
kind of hope, I'm rooting for her. Hopefully she's able to pull through and get a second, back-to-back slams. I think that'd be awesome. But when any American wins, it's a good day for us, even though we haven't had an American champion in a while here. But
Yeah.
it definitely is a good day when they win.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree. I'd be happy with any female American winner, honestly. I mean,
Yeah.
that'd be awesome. And then I guess kind of speaking of, some of these more unexpected runs here, and
Hmm.
I got to bring up, dude, my boy, my new boy, Nuno Borges. Maybe one of my new favorite players, sneakily.
Hmm.
Current 41 in the world. I was following him like really closely. I'm
Hmm.
not really sure like particularly why. He played Kyrian Jacquet, who's a French player, in the first round, and it was like a late night session. We're talking,
Hmm.
going until 10:30. The fans were getting restless. And he lost the first two sets, 3-6, 6-7. Tiebreak was 7-3. And then he came back and won the next three sets 6-4, 6-3, 6-3 against a French crowd that was like berating him. I
Hmm.
have not seen a French crowd like like as disrespectful kind of as they were in that game in a long
Hmm.
time. I mean, they were cheering at what it seemed like on Borges missing like his first serve.
Hmm.
Like it was just ridiculous. And maybe that's maybe I'm kind of forgetting about it. Like kind of, in the moment I just, see it seemed like that, but I mean it was insane.
Hmm.
Just the crowd and everything at Borges, I mean, he just stood up there for 4 hours, just took it and ended up
Yeah.
winning. I mean, he's
Yeah.
a dog. And then he even beat Rude in round two. Casper Rude falling to Nuno Borges. I
And
mean,
Rude's a
top
good guy
10
on the clay.
player.
So,
What like that was unexpected. I mean, what do you think about that? Rude
well, I
getting
feel like
knocked out by Nuno?
Yeah, Rude's been a good player on the clay historically. He had some good successes at the French, got to the final, right? Once or twice. So for him to lose in the first round, especially a place where he's pretty comfortable, a surface where he's pretty
Well,
comfortable,
no, I think it was round two.
round two.
Yeah. And he
But
said
yeah,
he was
still an early
battling some kind of
loss.
injury or something.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
guess it's the hard thing about
100%.
the tennis schedule, right? Because, these guys pretty much are playing every single week of the year. They get that little break at the end of the year and they go out and do it again. So I can understand where Ruud's coming from, but at the end of the day, it's, you got to be able to keep yourself fit, right? And
Mm,
at the end of the day,
I
Nuno
agree.
Borges was playing great tennis and he was able to put it together, right? So I feel like that's the beauty of tennis, where you get to see guys who aren't your top 10 players put on performances like that, where everything starts to click and they play incredible tennis.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I think Rude was, I mean, I honestly, who knows what was going on with his injuries? Only he
Hmm.
really knows. But I mean, he said he was complaining about how, prize money works on the ATP
Hmm.
tour. If you don't play, you don't get the prize money, for that
That's true.
match. But I guess you can play, you can lose, and then you get paid.
Hmm.
So he was kind of saying that, it's backwards, and that was kind of one of the reasons for why,
Hmm.
what happened the way it happened. And I don't know. I think Borges was just playing really well. I think I should have watched the Rude match. I didn't get to see it, so I'm not really sure if he was moving around, but he did lose to Popperin,
Hmm.
Borges. So, I mean, falling in the third round, he was the first ever Portuguese man to make it to the third round of the Roland Garros. So, I mean, props to Portugal. Like, let's
Yeah.
go. You know, um, and dude, fun fact, he played 4 years of college tennis for the Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Hmm.
Nuno Borges, 15 to 19.
Well,
Um, Pretty interesting. I feel like that's like something Coach Connor Casey would know about. He'd be like, "Oh,
shout out
Mississippi
Coach
State
Connor
Bulldog."
Casey. Love his videos. Relatable content. Both of us have had our fair share of coaching tennis, so we always love to see some relatable content like that.
Yeah, yeah, I
But you know what?
agree.
Speaking of college tennis, what do you think? I know that a lot of people have talked about, and we've obviously seen a bunch of college players be pretty successful in recent times. There's that like span in the early 2000s and 2010s where if you went to college, you were just not going to make it pro. That's just, I guess, the thought. But I would almost venture a guess to say that I feel like that's really changing. There's a lot of great guys who are playing pro events and they're in college right now, taking advantage of getting the free training, getting the free meals, getting people to look after you, and you get to just focus on playing great tennis and and focusing and perfecting your craft. What do you think? Do you think college tennis is the move?
I know we're coming up on time here, so I mean, I'll try and keep it sweet, but
Hmm.
I mean, I think it is, honestly. I mean, even if you just do a year, I mean, why not? What's the harm? I think, it takes so much to have to
Hmm.
travel around. There's no guaranteed money in the ATP tour at all.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could go to a match, you could lose first round, or you could lose in the qualies. You don't get paid. You have
Hmm.
people to pay. You probably have a coach. You might
Yeah.
have, a trainer who's helping you out with fitness. Um, I think it's probably the safer play, but I
Hmm.
mean, when we're talking about someone who's like, wow, Fonseca,
Hmm.
generational talent. Obviously, I think just go right to the pros, like or
Hmm.
Alcaraz. But I think for some of these guys who could potentially make it, but maybe they're not sure. I mean, why not
Hmm.
go develop yourself?
Yeah.
Maybe go win an NCAA title, right?
Yeah.
Ethan Quinn. He won
Yeah.
the singles title, and now look at what
Hmm.
he's doing. He made it to like the third round.
Yeah.
Incredible performance for him
Yeah.
this Roland Garros. So
And he's
I
another
think
player I
there's two
love
sides.
watching. So yeah. But you know what? Speaking, you mentioned a really big name in tennis, and this is something I really do want to get your opinion on. So Alcaraz, we know he's a such a fun player to watch, but we saw some pictures of him and his new haircut, and I just had to get your opinion on it because I'll be honest with you, for a guy who's won so many, a good amount of slams, is kind of tennis's next big guy who's really taking the front stage. You would think that he could have gotten a better barber, right?
I mean, honestly, I have one thing to say about that, and you would know as much as anyone, bro. Barber loyalty.
Barber loyalty. Yeah,
Dude, you can't switch up on your barber, man. It doesn't
you
matter
can't.
how many Grand Slams you win. I'm going back for that
Hmm.
uneven, haircut. I mean, you saw me today. I got a haircut today, bro,
Yeah.
and I have no idea what they did when, I was walking out of the haircut place, but
Hmm.
with all that, baby powder or chalk or who knows what they put in it.
Whatever they put in your hair. Yeah.
I took a shower, washed everything that was in there out, like got it out. I mean, it looks fine. I
Hmm.
think if he keeps winning, I wouldn't stop going. But if maybe
Yeah.
he has some bad performances, maybe then I'd consider switching it up. But for now, I'm kind of happy with the maybe not the best haircut, but
Hmm.
I
Well,
mean,
he is in the second week of the
you're
slam,
loyal to your
so
barber, so
yeah. So I try to stay loyal to the barber. I mean, I'm sure Alcaraz has some options when he's traveling around the world, but even for the best players in the world, I think it's probably best that they stick with their barber.
dude, shout out Norberto, bro. Shout out Norberto. And I guess, dude, the last kind of thing on the agenda here. I mean, outside of Ethan Quinn, which we kind of talked
Mhm.
about, but I did want to bring that up since, I mean, his game kind of reminds me of Sinner, honestly. If
Which he's a big
you've
hitter,
watched
kind of
him a good
moving.
amount,
Yeah.
dude, he moves so much like Sinner,
Hmm.
Ethan Quinn, same build, same exact build. I think
Yeah.
Ethan Quinn's a little shorter though.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, the backhand and the forehand, I mean, it's violent,
Hmm.
violent strokes. What's going on with Felix Auger Aliassime? That's
Well,
the
that's
question.
that's a really good question. And so he's actually a guy that I always support. I see his name in the draw. I always I'm hoping for him to do well because I think it was 2022. I had gone to the Hall of Fame Open in Rhode Island on vacation.
Oh
I was
my
walking
gosh,
around,
let's go.
and I see this guy who he's pretty tall, looks like an athlete, and he's wearing sunglasses. Trying to be a little discreet, and he's just walking by, like enjoying the coast. And I see him, and it's actually FAA. So I got a picture with him, and I talked to him a little bit. So he's always a player that
No
I'm rooting
way.
for, but I think he's been struggling a little bit. So
Mm,
yeah, what do you think? Some of his performances, I think maybe it's more of a mental block than
mm,
anything else.
I mean, dude, I think, it's a shame for him to be so talented,
Hmm.
as talented as he is, and be known for some of, the greatest tennis chokes. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, he's like, I remember seeing a comment somewhere. I don't remember what post, but someone said FAA is everyone's first top 10 win.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, that's heinous. But honestly, like there's some truth to that, especially when he
Hmm.
was like up there.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of inconsistencies in his play. I mean, he lost first
Hmm.
round, obviously, in this Roland Garros to Arnaldi, who I think's been
Hmm.
playing well. But I mean, he won the first two sets, and I mean, he was playing well. He just mentally checked out after he lost
Hmm.
the third and fourth. Like in that fifth set, he could do nothing.
Yeah.
And obviously, when you want to be the best in this sport, it's so mental,
Hmm.
so mental.
Definitely.
So, what do you think of that Rublev final too? The Rublev final, Madrid
Yeah. I mean,
last year.
Rub Rublev's an interesting guy as well because he's also somebody who we always talk about, like on the mental side of things. I think he
Oh
struggled
my gosh, yes,
recently because he gets pretty mad on court, and I think a lot of times it impacts the rest of his game. So if he's
yeah,
able to focus on that and maybe just see like the positive side of it and focus on that more so than the shots he's missing or the errors he makes, I think that could be a good step in the right direction.
yeah. I mean, it just goes to show kind of FAA, kind of being
Hmm.
a little inconsistent when it comes to closing out matches. I mean, in that Madrid final last year,
Hmm.
another clay tournament. I
Yeah.
mean, he took the first set 6-4, like playing well.
Hmm.
And then second and third are both 7-5.
Hmm.
And in the third set, he's serving at 6-5 Rublev, to put it to a tiebreak. It's 30-40, and he double faults for the match
Hmm.
in an ATP 1000. I mean, dude, obviously, like, no player wants to be in that situation
Hmm.
when you need to hold, you're down 30-40, you double fault, you lose one of the biggest tournaments of your entire life.
Yeah.
And I mean, dude, think about like us at the Lehigh Open, bro. Say
Hmm.
say, first round, we need to hold to send it to a tiebreak. I'm
Hmm.
serving. What are you telling me in that moment? If there's anything that could be told to him, to help him get that serve in, I mean, what could have been said?
I mean, sometimes you just gotta swing. I feel like that's so much of the issue. Sometimes I think you slow down, and
Mm,
that's when you toss the ball, and then all the thoughts go in your head of, oh, am I gonna miss? Am I gonna make? Sometimes the best answer is just to swing, and if you put in the reps, that ball's gonna go. And I feel like that's probably something pretty relatable for these top guys, where they've put so many reps in,
yeah.
they just have to trust what they can do.
Hmm. I actually, I'm not gonna lie. I think I saw some of the classic kind of, FAA double faults actually after he started losing, after those first two
Hmm.
one sets. I think he might have even on that last game, like that match point, I think he might have
Hmm.
lost from a double fault from
Wow,
himself. Like, I mean, dude,
it's the worst way.
mentally, I mean, it's gotta
Hmm.
stink.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, who knows? I think he has a bright future though. I think he can
Hmm.
turn it around for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
That's really all I had for today here for episode one here of Lucky Losers.
Hmm.
Um, Anything else to add? We got some good matches tomorrow. I'm excited for that Djokovic Norrie match.
Yeah,
They
definitely
actually
looking forward to
literally
that.
just played. Norrie played Djokovic in Geneva, and
Really.
Djokovic won in the semis, and that's how we got to the final, and then he won that final. So, I mean, I think it'll be a pretty good
Hmm.
match because I think Norrie actually took a set. I think it was Djokovic first set, Norrie second set in a tiebreak,
Hmm.
and then third set Djokovic like 6-1 or something, just domination. But I
Well,
mean,
so we
it's a
have
new
some good
tournament.
matches then. So yeah, maybe Nori has a little chip on his shoulder. Has to get a little bit of payback. So
Yeah,
hopefully we'll have not just that match be a good one, but the rest of these the second week at the French. And I'm thinking we're gonna have a lot of good things to talk about the next time we hop on here.
I'm sure. I'm sure. And do you know roughly when the championship is? Is that going to be next Sunday? That's
It'll
usually
be
how I
next
get a
Sunday. I
check.
don't know what time it is though. I'm guessing
Okay.
it might be in the morning for us because of the time zone difference.
Oh my dude, I was actually thinking about making like a joke about that, like a little meme where it's like waking up to watch the Roland Garros in the
Hmm.
US and it's like if you set your alarm for 4
Hmm.
and you're in bed with a cup of coffee, like sipping it. Like I mean that's the reality of it. If you want to watch these
Yeah.
matches, bro, you gotta be up at 4 in the morning.
Hmm.
It's heinous. But yeah, I think this will be a really interesting final run out. Let's try and keep this on Sundays because then we'll talk about the championship next week.
Yeah.
So
Let's
looking
do it.
forward to that. Yeah, I guess to all the viewers out there, if you made it this far, super impressive. First episode ever, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, and we'll catch
It's
you
been a great
guys
time.
next week on Lucky Losers.
Yeah, appreciate it. I hope you have a good one, Theodore.
You too, Quinn. Catch you.
Thanks. See ya.